We are all addicted to becoming, but afraid of actually arriving. And it's funny because obviously we never actually arrive. All of these goals and things that we've set, yeah, we might actually accomplish the goal, but everything in life is an internal journey. And this is something that recently I have been, I wouldn't say struggling with, but moving through this process of understanding that, yes, life is always a journey, and yes, we can always evolve, and we should always want to get better and understand why life has sent us certain things. Not necessarily why, but why we've reacted and how we can maybe make it better, or how we can operate more in full alignment with ourselves. Because saying, oh, I want to make better choices or worse choices, or this was right and this was wrong, we don't necessarily need to put a label on it. The only reason that we're putting a label on it is to put ourselves into a box, to make us feel more comfortable that we can describe what it is. But most of the time, the description words that we're using for these feelings or these things that are happening, they will never fully describe what is going on, because you can't. And everybody is feeling and processing and observing and experiencing different than the person next to them. So this whole concept of, oh, I want to arrive and I want to be the best version of me possible. It's like once you become that highest version of yourself, your values change. So now the new highest version of yourself changes, right? Your morals change, your environment changes. It is a forever evolution, and you literally can't stop it. I mean, I don't know why you would want to, but you can't stop it. You kind of just have to go with the flow and continue to operate and show up in alignment with yourself, and almost try to reject all of the extra information and all of the extra opinions, because regardless on if you want them or not, they're going to come your way, and you're going to feel the need to adapt or people please or make other people feel seen based off of your own experiences and your own childhood traumas or things that you went through or whatever, not to put a label on it. With that being said, I think, and what I have seen in my personal life, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, I'm going to use entrepreneurship because I think it's a baseline that a lot of people can relate to, even if you haven't reached this part in your journey yet. But you reach a point in your journey where you accomplish certain things that you never thought were accomplishable. And you almost reach this concept of like, does money buy happiness? And I don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole because we will be here all day and not just for our 10-minute mornings. But you reach a point where you accomplish things that you thought were never accomplishable. Things that you thought were never accomplishable. And obviously, this point is going to be different for everybody. Maybe for some people it's $500. Maybe for some people it's $10K a month. I know people obsess over that $10K a month position. Some people it's $100K a month. Obviously, it's forever expanding. But you reach this point and you realize, okay, but the journey doesn't end here. Now what? Right? All these things that I thought were impossible, apparently it's very possible, and I can actually become whoever I want. And when you realize this, and that everything is your fault, and you start to take big responsibility for the fact that you understand everything in your life is your fault, and your habits and the way that you subconsciously think, like the way that you program your mind and you default, the way that you default speak, right? Your environment, like you are programming your entire life and the person that you want to be and the person and the lifestyle that you want to live and the people that you want to have around you. And when you get to that level and you realize that you could do something that you thought you couldn't do, you start crashing out. Not everybody, but I did, because I was like, now what? I've literally done I did the impossible, and it wasn't even anything crazy. But coming from where I've come from, I was like, like I was living in my car, right? I went to rehab when I was 15, and all of these people who you think, oh, like the odds are stacked against them, or if you live in this mentality of just being the victim, you just think it's you. You're like, oh, everything bad happens to me, and like da 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 da, and I'm the one that has to receive all this negative energy and process it for other people, or whatever your trauma is. it's happening to everybody else. And the only difference is how they are responding to these things that are happening. And then making sure that the default of how their reality responds to their behavior and their habits is going to be positive, because then it works in their favor. But anyways, the whole point of this, just like becoming, and I feel like we've talked about this every day, but just like the aesthetic needs to be no more. I don't want to look at pretty people anymore. Obviously, I want to enjoy your beauty, but I want to enjoy the beauty of who you are as a human being, both internally and externally. I'm not saying, oh, I don't value the external at all, right? I can see somebody who has put in a lot of work and who they've become on the outside, myself included, the weight that I've lost, right? The body that I feel so amazing to move around in. All of these things are because of habits that I've changed, and I can appreciate that in somebody else because I know what it takes to get there. But we just need to stop trying to distract ourselves with all these really pretty, shiny, good-looking things, because you arrive at this point where you think you wanted to get for so long, and you acquire all these things that you thought that you wanted for so long. I know when I did, I arrived, I was like, I have everything, and my soul was still on fire, and I was like, why do I feel like I'm freaking dying? This is crazy. And it's because on my way to get everything I wanted, I distracted myself with so many things and so many people and so many shining objects that I didn't sit down and be like, how does this make me feel? How does collecting all of this stuff make me feel? How does experiencing all these things make me feel? And it's not even like what has happened in the current past that's making me feel this way. You have to go back to the child, right? To the child wounds, to the things that happened when we were programmed at a vulnerable state in our life. Because everything goes back to the way that we operate. When you actually dig deeper, it all goes back to stuff that happened in the childhood and why we default to certain behaviors. And it's not our fault that it happened, but it is our fault that we continue to allow it to affect our lives the way that we do. I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole. My point. I'm tired of looking at pretty things. I think everybody is tired of looking at pretty perfect things, because pretty perfect things, they look pretty imperfect, but you realize that they're actually not. And we can only pretend for so long. We need to learn to sit in silence. How does this make me feel? Where do I feel this in the body? Why do I even feel this in the body? And then making sure that we are not on top of that, distracting ourselves and just observing how we feel in the body on the way to get the things that we want. Because I've been getting so many DMs lately of people just being like, I feel like I'm enjoying my life the way that I feel like you enjoy yours. And I think social media is so incredible because we're all mirrors for each other. So when people enjoy the way that I create on social media, or copy my content, I don't see it as like, oh, this individual went and copied my content. I see it as like, I mirrored a version of yourself that inspires you, and you're seeing that within me, right? Like, we're all connected. But I've been watching people just be like, I feel so alive and I just feel so happy with my life, and I will win in this life every single time because I am having more fun than you. I'm having more fun than you. Even when I'm like having the worst time, even when I was living in my car, when I was getting legally kidnapped to go to rehab, I was having the most fun because I want to control how I am on the inside, or at least I was trying. I didn't understand what was going on, so I literally felt like my soul was on fire and I was so angry and upset. But I was trying. I wasn't just sitting there in my trauma and being like, all this stuff happened and I'm just angry and I'm mad. Even when I felt that anger and all of these emotions that I was going through, let's dance, let's move the body. I knew that movement was medicine, so let's try something different than just trying to put a Band-Aid on it or just trying to continue to make it look perfect. Like, let's actually dig deep into where the issue is originating in the first place. To bring it full circle before we go over 10 minutes, enjoy it. We were not put on this planet to just work and work and work and work and just hate the process and make everything a process, and you have to systemize everything and collect data on everything and just be the best at everything. Like, can we just be? Can we just have fun? Can we just do a dance? Let's enjoy. Okay, let's do a dance. See, now we feel good. Movement is medicine. I would play some music, but we have surround sound in here. It'd be way too loud for the ones that are still sleeping. But get up and play some music and jump around. Like, I already feel so much better. I probably should have done that before the video. But anyways, get up, move around. You'll feel so much better. Let all that stuck energy move out of your body and just enjoy the process. That's it. The point of the process is to enjoy the process, not to get to the finish line and then realize that you literally missed the whole point because you can't go back. All you get is right now. So cheers, and I'll see you all tomorrow.